The chandelier sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars above the fancy restaurant. The smell of roasted chicken and sweet wine filled the air. At a table in the center, Tom sat frozen, his face red as a tomato. His fork slipped from his hand, clattering onto the gold-rimmed plate. Everyone around him turned to stare. The waiter, a tall man with a neat black suit and a shiny name tag that read Henry, stood over him, holding a silver tray with a steaming plate of pasta. Henry's smile was wide, polite, and perfect, but his eyes gleamed with something strange, like he knew a secret. Tom's heart raced. He wanted to disappear. Why was the waiter smiling like that? What did he know? The whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something to happen. Tom's eyes darted to the table, then to the waiter, then to the crowd. His stomach twisted. Something was terribly wrong. The moment stretched, heavy and unbearable. Henry leaned forward, still smiling, and whispered, "Enjoy your meal, sir." His voice was smooth, but it sent a chill down Tom's spine. The plate of pasta sat in front of him, but Tom couldn't move. His mind screamed, "How does he know? How does he know?" The restaurant's soft music felt too loud, the lights too bright. Everyone was watching. Tom's hands shook. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like jelly. What had just happened to make him feel so exposed? Why was the waiter acting so calm, so polite, when Tom's world was falling apart? The answer hung in the air, just out of reach, like a word you can't remember. Tom hadn't always been this nervous. Earlier that day, he was just a regular guy, excited for a big night. He'd saved up for weeks to eat at La Belle Étoile, the fanciest restaurant in town. It was his chance to impress Lily, the girl he'd been crushing on forever. She was smart, funny, and way out of his league, or so he thought. When she said yes to dinner, Tom couldn't believe his luck. He spent hours picking out a suit, practicing what to say, and imagining how perfect the night would be. But now, sitting at the table, with Henry's creepy smile burning into him, Tom wished he'd never come. It all started that morning. Tom woke up feeling like a king. He'd planned everything. The perfect table by the window, the perfect order of lobster and dessert, the perfect moment to tell Lily how he felt. He even wrote a speech on a tiny piece of paper, folded neatly in his pocket. But when he arrived at La Belle Étoile, things started to go wrong. First, Lily was late, really late. Tom sat alone, sipping water, checking his phone every 2 seconds. The other diners glanced at him, whispering. He felt like a kid who forgot his lines in a school play. Then, when Lily finally arrived, she wasn't herself. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around like she was hiding something. Tom tried to make her laugh, but her smiles were forced. Something was off, and it made his stomach churn. Then came the waiter. Henry appeared out of nowhere, his smile too perfect, his bow too deep. "Welcome to La Belle Étoile," he said, handing them menus. His voice was like honey, but his eyes locked onto Tom's, like he was reading his thoughts. Tom shook it off, thinking he was just nervous. He ordered the lobster, trying to sound confident. Lily barely looked at the menu, muttering, "I'll have the same." The whole time, Henry hovered nearby, refilling their water glasses, adjusting their napkins, always smiling. Tom started to feel like he was being watched not just by Henry, but by everyone. As the night went on, the tension grew. Lily kept checking her phone, her fingers twitching. Tom tried to talk about their favorite movie, but she barely answered. Then, just before the main course arrived, Lily stood up. "I need some air," she said, her voice shaky. She grabbed her purse and rushed toward the door. Tom called after her, but she didn't turn back. The other diners stared. Tom's face burned. Had he said something wrong? Was she sick? He didn't know, but he felt like a fool. That's when Henry returned, carrying the steaming plate of pasta instead of the lobster Tom had ordered. The waiter's smile grew wider, almost mocking. A special dish just for you, Henry said, placing it in front of Tom. The words felt like a punch. Tom looked at the pasta, confused. He hadn't ordered this. He glanced up, and Henry's eyes locked onto his, gleaming with that strange, knowing look. Tom's heart stopped. There, in the middle of the pasta, was something small, shiny, and impossible. It wasn't food. It was something that made Tom's blood run cold. What was it? Why was Henry smiling like that? And where had Lily gone? The answers were coming, but Tom wasn't sure he wanted to know. Tom stared at the shiny object nestled in the pile of pasta, his heart thumping like a drum. It was a tiny gold ring, glinting under the restaurant's fancy lights. His mind spun. He hadn't ordered pasta, and he definitely didn't expect a ring. Was this a mistake? A prank? Or something worse? Henry, the waiter, stood there, his polite smile unwavering, but his eyes sparkled with something that made Tom's skin crawl. The other diners whispered, their voices like buzzing bees. Tom wanted to sink into the floor. He pushed the plate away, his hands trembling. "What is this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Henry tilted his head, still smiling. "A special surprise, sir. Compliments of the house." His words were smooth, but they felt like a riddle. Tom's thoughts raced. Was the ring meant for Lily? But she was gone, vanished into the night. And why was Henry acting so calm, like he knew something Tom didn't? The restaurant felt smaller now, the walls closing in. Tom's eyes darted to the empty chair where Lily had Saturday. Her purse was gone, but something caught his eye, a folded napkin tucked under her plate. It wasn't there before. He reached for it, his fingers brushing the soft fabric. Inside, scrawled in messy handwriting, was a note. "Don't trust him. Leave now." Tom's breath caught. Don't trust who? Henry? Someone else? His heart pounded as he glanced at the waiter, who was now clearing a nearby table, still smiling, still watching. Tom shoved the note into his pocket, his mind a whirlwind. He needed answers, but fear glued him to his seat. The ring, the note, Lily's sudden exit, it all felt connected, like pieces of a puzzle he didn't understand. He looked at the ring again. It wasn't just any ring. It looked familiar, like one he'd seen before, but where? His memory flickered Lily's hand months ago, flashing a similar gold band. Was this her ring? Why was it in his pasta? Earlier that evening, before everything went wrong, Tom had been hopeful. He'd arrived at La Belle Étoile early, his suit crisp, his speech memorized. He'd even practiced his smile in the mirror, hoping to look confident. Lily was his dream girl, and tonight was his chance to win her over. But when she walked in, something was off. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Her smile was tight, like it hurt to fake it. Tom tried to ignore it, chalking it up to nerves. He told her silly stories, hoping to make her laugh. But she kept glancing at the door, her fingers twisting the edge of her napkin. Then there was Henry. From the moment he appeared, Tom felt uneasy. The waiter was too perfect, too quick to refill their glasses, too eager to hover. When he brought their appetizers, he leaned close to Tom, whispering, "A night to remember, sir." It sounded nice, but it felt like a warning. Tom brushed it off, focusing on Lily. But she was distracted, her phone buzzing nonstop. When she excused herself to take a call, Tom overheard her hushed voice in the hallway. "I can't do this. Not tonight." Who was she talking to? Why did she sound so scared? Now, sitting alone with the mysterious ring and the cryptic note, Tom felt like he was in a movie, a scary one. He glanced at Henry, who was now across the room, serving another table. But his eyes flicked back to Tom, that same eerie smile plastered on his face. Tom's stomach twisted. He needed to find Lily. He needed to know what was going on. He stood up, his chair scraping loudly, heads turned. He didn't care. He grabbed his coat and headed for the door. the note burning a hole in his pocket. Outside, the night was cold, the streetlights casting long shadows. Lily was nowhere in sight. Tom checked his phone, no messages, no calls. He dialed her number, but it went straight to voicemail. His heart sank. Then he heard footsteps behind him, slow, deliberate. He turned, expecting Lily, but it was Henry, standing in the doorway, his smile gone. "Leaving so soon, sir?" he asked, his voice low and sharp. In his hand, he held something small and shiny, not a ring, but a key. Tom's blood ran cold. The key looked old, rusted, like it unlocked something dangerous. What did the key open? Why was Henry following him? And where was Lily? Tom took a step back, his mind screaming to run, but his feet wouldn't move. Henry's eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, the waiter's smile returned wider, darker, and full of secrets. Tom's heart pounded as he stared at the rusty key in Henry's hand. The cold night air stung his face, but it was the waiter's dark, knowing smile that made him shiver. The street outside La Belle-Étoile was quiet, too quiet, and the glow of the restaurant's golden lights felt far away. Tom's mind raced with questions. What did the key unlock? Why was Henry holding it like it was a threat? And where was Lily? The note in his pocket, "Don't trust him, leave now," felt heavier than ever. He took another step back, his shoes crunching on the gravel. Henry didn't move, but his eyes followed Tom like a hawk watching a mouse. "Sir," Henry said, his voice smooth as silk, "you forgot something inside." He dangled the key, letting it catch the streetlight's glow. Tom's throat tightened. He hadn't forgotten anything except maybe his courage. "I don't know what you are talking about," Tom stammered, his voice shaky. Henry's smile widened, but it wasn't polite anymore. It was sharp, like a wolf showing its teeth. "Oh, I think you do," Henry said, stepping closer. Tom's legs screamed to run, but fear rooted him to the spot. The key, the ring, the note, it was all connected, and Tom was trapped in the middle. Hours earlier, before the nightmare began, Tom had been so hopeful. Sitting at the table with Lily, he tried to ignore the little things that felt wrong, like how Lily kept checking her phone, her fingers trembling, or how Henry seemed to appear out of nowhere, always watching, always smiling. When Lily rushed outside for air, Tom thought maybe she was just nervous, like him. But then he found the note under her plate, and everything changed. "Don't trust him. Leave now." The words echoed in his mind as he stood outside, facing Henry. Was him the waiter, or someone else? Tom's stomach churned. He didn't know who to trust anymore. Back in the restaurant, before Lily left, Tom had noticed something odd. While Henry poured their water, a small tattoo peeked out from under his sleeve, a tiny symbol, like a lock with a lightning bolt through it. Tom hadn't thought much of it then, but now, staring at the rusty key in Henry's hand, it clicked. The key had the same symbol etched into its handle. Tom's heart skipped. Was this a clue? A warning? His mind flashed to the ring in the pasta. It wasn't just any ring, it was Lily's, the one she wore every day until a month ago when she said she lost it. Why was it in his food? Had Henry put it there? And why? Tom's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden noise, a car engine roaring nearby. He turned, hoping to see Lily, but the street was empty except for shadows. When he looked back, Henry was closer, too close, the key still in his hand. "You should come back inside," Henry said, his voice low and dangerous. "There's something you need to see." Tom's pulse raced. He didn't want to go back, but what choice did he have? Lily was gone, the note was a mystery, and Henry knew more than he was saying. Tom took a deep breath, trying to be brave. "What's the key for?" he asked, his voice barely steady. Henry's smile faded for a split second, replaced by something cold and hard. "It's for the truth," he said, stepping aside and gesturing toward the restaurant's door. Tom's heart sank. The truth? What did that mean? Was Lily in danger? Was he? He glanced at the key, then at Henry's tattoo, then at the dark street behind him. He could run, but where? He could fight, but Henry was taller, stronger. The note's warning screamed in his mind, but curiosity burned stronger. He needed answers. Tom took a step toward the restaurant, his legs heavy as stone. Henry followed the key glinting in his hand. As they crossed the threshold, the restaurant felt different, darker, quieter, like it was holding its breath. The other diners were gone, their tables empty. The chandelier flickered. Tom's eyes darted to the table where he sat with Lily. The plate of pasta was still there, the ring gleaming in the center. But now something else caught his eye. A small, folded piece of paper next to it, with its name written in Lily's handwriting. His stomach dropped. What had she left behind? And what was Henry about to show him? Tom's hand trembled as he reached for the note on the table. The restaurant was silent, the flickering chandelier casting shadows that danced like ghosts. Henry stood nearby, his smile gone, the rusty key still in his hand. Tom unfolded the paper, his heart pounding. Lily's handwriting was shaky. "It's in the basement. Don't let him follow you." His stomach twisted. The basement? What was down there? And why was Lily leaving him these cryptic warnings? He glanced at Henry, who was watching him like a cat eyeing a bird. Tom stuffed the note into his pocket, his mind racing. He needed to find the basement. But how? With Henry looming. The restaurant felt like a maze now, its elegance hiding something dark. Tom's eyes scanned the room for an exit, a clue, anything. Then he saw it, a small, unmarked door behind the bar, barely noticeable, with the same lock and lightning symbol carved into the wood. His breath caught. The key in Henry's hand, it had to fit that door. But how could he get it? Henry stepped closer, his voice low. "You're curious, aren't you, sir?" he said, twirling the key. "Curiosity can be dangerous." Tom's mouth went dry. Was Henry threatening him or warning him? Earlier, before Lily vanished, Tom had noticed her fidgeting with her phone, her eyes darting to that same door behind the bar. She'd whispered something about needing to fix it during her phone call outside. Fix what? Tom hadn't asked, too nervous to push her. Now he regretted it. The ring, the notes, the key, it all pointed to something bigger. Something Lily was caught up in. Was she in trouble? Had she left the ring in the pasta as a signal? Tom's head spun. He needed to act, but every move felt like stepping into a trap. He forced himself to stand straighter, trying to look brave. "What's in the basement?" he asked Henry, his voice cracking. The waiter's eyes narrowed, but his smile returned, sharp and cold. "Answers," he said simply, "but only if you're brave enough." He held out the key, dangling it like bait. Tom's heart raced. Was this a trick? If he took the key, would Henry stop him? Or worse? The other diners' absence made the restaurant feel like a stage, and Tom was the only actor left. He took a step toward the bar, his eyes locked on the door. Henry didn't move, but his gaze followed Tom, heavy and unblinking. Tom's hand brushed the note in his pocket, Lily's words burning in his mind. Don't let him follow you. He needed a plan. Maybe he could distract Henry, grab the key, and run for the door. But what was in the basement? Was Lily there, or something dangerous? His palms sweated as he weighed his options. Then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, shattering the silence. Henry's head snapped toward the sound, his smile faltering. Tom's heart leapt. This was his chance. He lunged for the key, snatching it from Henry's hand. The waiter's eyes widened, but before he could react, Tom sprinted toward the door behind the bar. His fingers fumbled with the key, the lock clicking open just as he heard Henry's footsteps behind him. The door swung wide, revealing a dark staircase descending into shadows. Tom's breath hitched. What was down there? And was Lily waiting, or something else entirely?